So before we go on to Oiz, Dalid, and Hey of the Maimer, where the Rebbe once again quotes from each one of the Rebbeim, let's try and recap a little bit the ideas that we've seen, but mostly let's try and ponder deeper into what's the concept and what are we trying to bring out here, and then we can continue with the next part. Twice in the Maimer, the Rebbe goes through each one of the Rebbeim. The first time, the Rebbe talks about Shechina, what the Shechina means, and the next time, what we're going to learn in Mitzvah Hashem starting tomorrow, is what it means Tachtoinim. Why it has to be lower. The first idea is bringing the presence of Hashem. Each one of the Rabbeim brought the presence of Hashem into this world in a stronger and a more powerful manner. But the purpose was that it should be down here, and each one of the Rabbeim actually explained deeper why and what the greatness of down here is. Because once again, Shechina could be spiritual. Spiritual is separate from this world. It's godly light. The ultimate is when it comes down into the actual world and where there's no separation. In our avodah, in our service of Hashem, that's the way it works. When we serve Hashem, it's not just about the spiritual, which is maybe how it was up until our generation, that the most important thing was the spiritual idea. The avodas Hashem, what a person does in Torah, in mitzvahs, in his spiritual avodah. The physical was there, but you use the physical only in order to reach the spiritual. You use the physical world in order to do a mitzvah. You use the physical world to do a skafia, to push it away, to subdue it. The ishafcha, the transformation, the using the world itself, the revealing Hashem's presence in the world itself, that's something which was revealed specifically through Chassidus in general, but more so Dafka in the Deir Hashvi in our generation, because it's in our time that we learned how to not only do the spiritual things, but actually use the physical world itself as everything and every single aspect of it being godliness. Now let's understand this a little bit more and the way that the Rabbeim brought it down. First of all, there's a general question that people many times ask. In the beginning of the Maimer, we bring the Medrash, that there were 7 tzaddikim that brought the Shechina back down. 7 generations, or starting from single people, but who represented entire generations, caused the Shechina to go up, to remove itself from this world. 7 tzaddikim brought the Shechina back down until Moshe, Shuashvi, Moshe brought it back down into this physical world. Through Matan Torah, and especially through building the Mishkan, and through the Avodah in the Mishkan. So it's down here already. Why then does the Rebbe talk about the 7 Rabbeim bringing the Shechina down? It's already in the world. Did it go up again? Some people will tell you it went up again through the Chet HaEgel. But if that's the case, why 7? Besides for the fact that the Mishkan, which is the main place where the Dira, if it's Matan Torah was before the Chet HaEgel, but yet the Moshe bringing the Shechina down here, as it's explained in the Maimer and the Medrash, is mostly not Matan Torah, but the Mishkan, which even if the command for the Mishkan is a machlekes, whether that was before Chet HaEgel or after, the actual building of the Mishkan was certainly after. However, if we contemplate on what is the idea and the purpose of Chassidus, and what is the idea and the purpose of the 7 tzaddikim up until then. The whole purpose of creation of the world, Hashem made a world that seems like it's separate, it's removed from godliness, a jungle, as we mentioned in earlier shiurim. Our mission is to show not only that it's not a jungle, to show that the reality of everything is Elokus, there's nothing else. Until finally Mashiach comes and V'rochel basar yachdav, the physical, the flesh of the physical world actually is able to see godliness. Kifi havaya diber. It's not just the spiritual, but the physical, material world sees the reality of Hashem. That's the ultimate of Mashiach, where there's no difference and no separation, where we continue to live in a physical world, but a physical world that grasps the reality of what it's all about. The 7 tzaddikim that originally brought the Shekhinah down here, until finally Moshe Rabbeinu bringing the Torah and the Mishkan, the world still didn't become one with Elokus. The Torah and the Mishkan gave the potential for the world to become one with Elokus. In other words, similar to the idea and the difference between Nigla of Torah and Pnimius HaTorah. Moshe Rabbeinu brought down, in a revealed way mostly, what was revealed in the time of Moshe Rabbeinu was the Nigla of Torah. Mashiach will reveal the Pnimius of Torah. The Nigla of Torah is like the body. The body is the outer essence of Torah. That means the ability to make the world one with Hashem. Whereas Mashiach is going to bring down the Pnimius, the inner essence, where the world actually becomes one with Hashem. So yes, Moshe Rabbeinu gave us a Torah. Moshe Rabbeinu built the Mishkan. Those all gave us the potential to reveal godliness in the world. Until then, it wasn't even possible to use the world in order to serve Hashem. It had to be used like the sticks of Yaakov Avinu that were used to draw down godliness, but then the sticks could be thrown in the garbage. They were nothing worth. There was nothing in them. That's the idea of the beginning of Matan Torah. Chassidus is the Yechida of Torah. Yechida is one. The essence, the spark that's inside everything, which is one with the spark of the Creator, it reveals that spark, the oneness, how everything is single and all one. And that's what's revealed ultimately with the coming of Mashiach. Each one of the Rabbeim brought this down a step further. Let's now look at how the Rabbeim brought it down. And first, we'll see now how it is in the Shekhinah part. And then we go even deeper into the Tachtonim part, into how the lower world itself becomes one with Hashem. So step 1 is the Shekhinah. Shekhinah is the presence of Hashem. Each one of the Rabbeim brought this presence of Hashem a step greater and stronger to become one with the world. But the first 6, it's still only the presence. The spiritual and the physical still remain separate. It's remaining, it's revealing, it's showing and bringing out how they're one, but they still remain separate. In a certain way, just like the difference between the first 7 of Nigla of Torah and the 7 of Chassidus, in a certain way, in the 7 of Chassidus themselves, there's a difference, number 1, between the first 3 and then the last ones, and also between all 6 before to the 7th. Which means that even though the Alter Rebbe already brought it down, the Alter Rebbe's whole idea is to reveal how Elokus is one with the world, but it's still there in potential. How does that happen? The Alter Rebbe brought down Chachma, which is the fact that Shekhinah is Sheikhin Mislabish. It rests in the world. It's in this lowest world, and yet it's the beginning of his Galos Ein Sof, which is in the world. Chachma in the spiritual sense. The Mittler Rebbe brought down the Kav, the spiritual light. He revealed the spiritual light that comes into this world. And that's, like we said, the difference between the Alter Rebbe's time and the Mittler Rebbe's time. In the Alter Rebbe's time, he revealed more the essence of Chassidus, whereas the Mittler Rebbe explained it much more at length. But in the Mittler Rebbe's generation, the Chassidim of the Mittler Rebbe's generation were people who were totally spiritual, removed from the world. The Tzemach Tzedek, Das, brought it a step further so that it should now be the Atik of Bria is really the Malchus of Atzilus, connecting Atzilus and Bria. That's the idea of Shekhinah. Bringing Chassidus and Nigla together, bringing the inner essence, but together, that it should be revealed in the revealed essence of the world. This includes also Chesed, Gvura, and Tiferes, both the intellect and the essence of the emotions, which are still there as feelings, still not there in the world. It's still a separate entity. It's there in potential, deeper and more in potential compared to the first 7, but it's still there in potential. Come along the Rebbe Marash, which is the Sfira of Netzach. The Rebbe Marash is Sfira of Netzach, which is victory, the essence of the soul, in which it's revealed within the world itself, the essence of godliness. The Rebbe Marash speaks about how the purpose and the reason and the understanding of Kav is that the whole reason why we're calling Kav Shechina is because the whole purpose of there being any godly light in the world is in order that it should come down into the physical world, revealing how it's all one. Netzach comes along the Rebbe Rashab and brings out the idea of Hoyt, that it's not just revealing, but in a sense, the idea of Netzach is similar to the Alter Rebbe in the beginning, where it's revealing how the highest light and the lowest are all one. But it's in a revealing way. Whereas Hoyd is reaching up from down here, from our Avodah down here to the highest level, and that's just like the Kav, but we're going even deeper, which is to the Oyer and Seif before Tzimtzum, the source, the root of Kav, the root of Malik Alman, that's really Shechina, even though it's before Tzimtzum, that's how a person reveals that through the Avodah of a person. And finally, we continue on with the Friedrich Rebbe's Avodah, which was Yisoid, to bring it all down into the world, to reach even the higher light of the source of Sevev Kol Almin, and make that into Shechina. And then finally we get to Malchus. But the difference between the first 6 and Malchus is that the Sfira of Malchus is one which leis lo migar maklum. Malchus has no light of its own. Malchus, there's no light. Malchus is just the godliness, the essence of godliness that's inside this world without any light. No revelations. Just the essence of godliness, how it is in the lowest, in the most physical world. That's the ultimate where there's no separations anymore. So everything from Chesed through Yisoid is still revealing the light, whereas Malchus is where everything finally becomes one in the world. To understand this a step further, let's look at the last 3, the Rebbe Marash, the Rebbe Rashab, and the Friedrich Rebbe, and the 4th, the final one, which is in the Rebbe. We know that before the Yidden can come into Eretz Yisrael, there's 3 mitzvahs that we have to do, which means before we can reach the ultimate, come into Eretz Yisrael, come into a land, into the world, make it into Eretz Yisrael, the place of a Jew, there's 3 mitzvahs. The first mitzvah is Lemanis Lemelech, to appoint a king. It's not just Lahamlich Melech, to make a king into king. It's not just that there should be a king, but Lemanis Lemelech, a mitzvah of us appointing the king. What's the reason and why is there a need for a king? We do what Hashem tells us. But because a person down here is removed from Hashem, he has to connect his reality to the reality of a Lakus, and for that he has a person who's a king who's totally beyond the people, but yet he connects and commands the people, and in this way he brings out in them their essence and their connection and their realization of the reality of Hashem. But this king isn't just there, it's appointed by the people. The second mitzvah is lahach rizare shel Amalek, to get rid of Amalek. Amalek is Am Molak. Amalek tries to separate between higher and lower. He separates between the intellect and the emotions, between the spiritual and the physical. Once you have a king, someone who can connect you to the essence of Hashem, then you're able to get rid of Amalek, to get rid of the separation, which that separation is beyond the understanding of a person. That separation is one, it says Amalek is the keser of Klippa, or the das of Klippa, which means the very essence of Klippa, which is beyond even understanding. Now we connected our essence to Hashem, now we can get rid of Amalek. And finally, it's Livnei's Beis HaBchira, to build a Beis HaMikdash. The Beis HaMikdash is a place where Makim Ha'arein Min Amida. The Beis HaMikdash is a place where space and above space become one in a way where there's no measurement to the space itself. It's space and yet it's above space. Manoira HaMakim Hazeh, it's a place where there's no concealment, and yet it remains a space, but it's above space at the same time, where the world and godliness become totally one. After all that, that's the ultimate of reaching the idea of the Beis HaMikdash. Now the three Rabbeim, the Rebbe Marash, the Rebbe explains, his last mimer was Keser Yitnu Lecha. The Rebbe Marash is Netzach, revealing the essence. His entire life was culminated after revealing the essence. His entire life, there finally can be Malchus. It's interesting because it says the Malchus of Beis David comes from the spirit of Netzach. Now he can reach the Keser Yitnu Lecha, but that's the culmination of his life. It's not yet there. It's giving the power for Keser Yitnu Lecha. In the Rebbe Marash, there's a Keser, there's a crown, but the crown is one which is above. The Rebbe Rashab's avoda was Keser Yitnu Lecha. The Rebbe Rashab's avoda is Hoid, that's from below. Netzach comes from above. Hoid is majesty. Hoid comes from the people, where there's Keser Yitnu Lecha, where we can take that crown and actually bring it through our avoda of Bittul. The entire avoda of the Rebbe Marash was spreading Chassidus, spreading Hashem's kingship in the world. Keser Yitnu Lecha. Spreading Hashem's kingship in the world through spreading Chassidus, and especially through the avoda of Tamchei Tmimim, which is the Bittul and the Mesiras Nefesh of the Tmimim. We'll continue in Yirtzeh Hashem next year.